Hi guys, and welcome back to Maths But Why. Today we are going to talk a little bit about adding and subtracting negative numbers. In the previous video we already discussed negative numbers in general. We already know what to do when we see words like adding and subtracting. But previously we seen them just with positive numbers. And we'll have, for example, a positive number minus a positive number, or a positive number plus a positive number. So just two cases, for example 5 minus 3 or 1 plus 4. Things that we already know and that are pretty simple for us already. Now when it comes to negative numbers, things are getting a little bit more complicated, and from just two cases we're gonna end up with 8. We can have things like a negative number minus a positive number, or the reverse, a positive number minus a negative number, and of course a negative number minus a negative number. And we can have the same thing for the positive part. We can have a negative number plus a positive number, or the reverse, a positive number plus a negative number, and of course a negative number plus a negative number. Now those here are completely new to us, therefore we're gonna need a set of rules to understand how they actually work and how we can get the correct answer with them. Let's take the first example that is telling us that adding a negative number is the same as subtracting a positive number. And here we have an example: a plus minus b equals with a plus b. So here we'll have, for example, 3 plus 3, and we know that that's equal with 6. 3 plus 2, it's 5. 3 plus 1, it's 4. 3 plus 0, it's 3. And now things are getting a bit more strange. 3 plus minus 1. If we look at what's going on, we'll see that we got 6, 5, 4, 3, and therefore now we'll get 2. Okay, but we can actually apply the rule that we're seeing here. So we have 3 plus minus 1, and the rule is telling us that 3 plus minus 1, it's exactly the same as 3 minus 1, which we already know gives us 2. Again, if we move forward, we have 3 plus minus 2. And if we look here, we got 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Therefore, this one is going to be 1. But again, we can apply our rule here. So instead of 3 plus minus 2, we can write 3 minus 2, which gives us 1. Now let's move to the second rule. We have just two rules when it comes to adding and subtracting negative numbers. And this one is telling us that subtracting a negative number, okay, is the same as adding a positive number. And they gave us an example: a minus minus b is the same as writing a plus b. And again, we'll try to give it a bit more sense, starting with things that we already know. So if we try 3 minus 3, this gives us 0. 3 minus 2, 1. 3 minus 1 gives us 2. 3 minus 0 gives us 3. 3 minus minus 1. Again, if we follow the rule, We know we have 0, 1, 2, 3, therefore this one is going to be a 4. Okay? But we don't need to do all of this. We can just apply our rule. So a minus b, it's the same as a plus b. So 3 minus 1 is the same as 3 plus 1, which gives us 4. When they think about negative numbers, some people can think about debt. Okay, so for example, we can have 3 plus minus 1, and we can put that into words like something like I am adding a debt of 1. Therefore, this one is going to be 2. And we can have something like 3 minus negative 1. Okay, and again we can put this in terms of I'm removing a debt of 1, which is going to give us 4. So we are supposed to give someone, for example, £1, but now we don't have to give it anymore, so we are removing that debt, therefore it comes back to us. So now we have 3 plus 1 equals 4. Now let's try to do a more visual representation of our negative numbers. For this one, I'm gonna use counters. And we'll have counters that look like this and counters that look like this. The first one will represent a minus, therefore our negative numbers. And the second one will represent a plus, so our positive numbers. And let's try this equation. 5 plus minus 3. So we have 5 positive counters and 3 negative counters. The positive counters will be represented with this O. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll have 3 negative counters. So 1, 2, 3. So now what's the equation between them? It's a plus. Okay, so we have to add them. If we are adding them, we know that those two represent the same value, so it's like having 1 and minus 1, 1 and minus 1, 1 and minus 1. What's going on if we add 1 and minus 1? We're going to get a 0. Therefore, those here are basically cancelling each other. Alright? So we're going to end up with those two. They are representing our positive numbers. So our answer is going to be plus 2. Okay? Let's give it a try for another one. Let's try the reverse. 3 plus minus 5. So we have 3 positive counters, 1, 2, 3, and 5 negative counters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the equation in between them is plus. Again, those two are cancelling each other, therefore those two will cancel each other, and in the end we're gonna end up with those two counters, which represent our negative numbers. Okay, so the answer is gonna be minus 2. Now let's try our last example when it comes to having a plus in between our numbers. We have minus 5, okay, plus minus 3. Now let's try and represent them. We have 5 negative counters and 3 negative counters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3. And the operation in between them is plus. Okay. Now they cannot cancel each other because they are the same, and the operation between them is plus. Therefore, we have 5 negative counters plus 5 negative counters. So we're gonna end up with 8 negative counters, which is minus 8. And those are basically all the variations that we can have when it comes to negative and positive numbers for plus. Now let's see what will happen if we have minus in between them. So remember, we are using counters. We have this one that represents negative numbers, therefore minus, and this one that represents positive numbers, therefore plus. And let's try some examples with this one. If we have minus 5 minus 3. Okay, so now we have to represent 5 negative counters and 3 negative counters. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, and the operation in between them, it's minus. Okay, so let's suppose someone has 5 counters and another person comes and takes 3 counters from them. That means those will cancel each other in this case because we have a minus here. So someone comes and takes those. So someone comes and takes those here, and we're gonna end up with those 2. Therefore, minus 2. Let's try a second one. Let's try minus 3 minus 5, which I think it's a bit harder. So we have to represent 3 negative counters and 5 negative counters. Okay, and the relationship between them, the operation here, is minus. Here we have 3 negative counters, and from those 3 we need to remove 5. And this simple visual representation is telling us that we don't have how to remove 5 from 3 because something here is missing. So the idea here is to introduce more negative counters in order for us to be able to remove them. So instead of writing minus 3 like this, we're gonna write them or draw them something like this, because we already know that those will cancel each other. And we're gonna continue writing minus 5, negative 5, like we used to do. And now the operation between them, we know it's minus, and looking at them, those will cancel each other. Okay, so we're gonna end up with those 2 counters which are positive. So the answer is plus 2. Now let's try another example here, and the final one. We have 5 minus 3, therefore we're going to have 5 positive counters and 3 negative counters, and the operation between them is minus. If you figure out the previous example, please pause the video and come back later when you know how to do it. If you think you need a bit more help, just continue watching. So, because the operation here is minus, those will not cancel each other. Okay? Therefore, something is wrong because we have some positive numbers and some negative numbers. So we have 5 positive counters and 3 negative counters. And we need to take away from those positive counters some negative counters, but we don't have them. So we have to do the same thing that we done previously. We need to add them. So this 5 now is gonna transform into those that we already know that represent a 5, but we'll need to put those together. Okay, so we'll have 3 negative counters, because 3 negative counters we need to subtract. Okay, and we added another 3 positive counters because they can cancel each other. And this is another way of representing positive 5. And now we have minus 3. 1, 2, 3. And the relationship between them is a minus. Okay, we know that those here will go with those here because it's a minus, and the only thing that remains is 8 positive counters. 5, 6, 7, 8. So our answer is going to be plus 8. Of course, this is just a visual representation. It's not something that you'll use every single time because it will take huge amounts of your time, especially when it comes to bigger numbers like minus 89, minus negative 83, for example. But it's something that you can use at the very beginning when it comes to small numbers, just to make a bit more sense of them. And don't remember, you need just 2 rules that we already explained to get to those negative numbers. In case you need a bit more practice, I will have a link down below with some worksheets. Thank you for watching.